Hello, clever people, and welcome to my review for Alien. So this 1979 sci-fi horror classic directed by Ridley Scott, starring Sigourney Weaver and many other people, features the story of a crew on a ship that went to a planet, mined certain materials, and is heading back. However, halfway there, they get a weird signal from another planet that they need to go investigate. And when they go, there's a weird alien creature that latches on to one of the characters' faces. And they take him in, they try to decontaminate it, but it doesn't really work because it's a foreign object, and they try to start uncovering what is behind this creature. And as it goes on, you realize that this creature is a strong threat to the entire crew. Before Alien Covenant comes out tomorrow, I thought it would be a really fun idea to share my thoughts on the original Alien movie, because this is one of my favorite horror films of all time. There's Diabolique, there's The Shining, and there's Alien. These three horror films are absolutely terrifying, and also, without the horror, are just fantastically crafted films. You can tell that each of these directors who made these movies, Stanley Kubrick, Ridley Scott, and Henry George Clouzot, they all thought out each and every single scene meticulously. They each thought exactly what should happen in each certain place, and that's part of the reason that these movies are so scary. Alien is commonly regarded as one of, if not the scariest film ever made, and there is a very strong reason for that. One of the only ways you can measure true horror is how your body reacts to the horror. Not just your feelings towards it, but also just how your body reacts while watching it. Something that Alien does so well is that it enacts chills in practically every single scene. Not a single scene in this movie feels like it feels light or in any way. All of it is very dark, it's very desolate, and you never feel safe ever. So that even when a character is walking through a room and maybe like a pen drops or a single drop falls from the ceiling, you get chills throughout your body because there's so much tension built up in each scene. But also something that Alien does really well is it doesn't just scare you through adrenaline, because that's an issue with a lot of horror movies. They think, oh, if we have loud jump scares or if we just have a lot of death, it'll fuel a lot of adrenaline and that'll make the audience feel scared. Something Alien does so well is that it appeals to also just the sexual feelings in your body, because this film is filled throughout with phallic symbols. Everything has a very weird sexual violation feel to it. And when watching that, most people won't even notice that, but if you're a critic like I am, you notice that type of stuff. And it's really fantastic that Ridley Scott planned that out, that in each and every scene, with each and every character design, he planned a phallic symbol with each of them. And it actually really makes the movie 10 times scarier, because it doesn't just appeal to normal adrenaline, it goes beyond that. Another reason this movie is so scary is because of how eerie it is. And, you know, the tagline to the movie is, "In space, no one can hear you scream." Iconic tagline. It's not like a character said that in the movie, where they get most taglines, but this tagline just overall sums up the entire feel of the movie. Just reading it alone, or hearing it, you get chills. And if there is any scene that shows that perfectly, it is the opening scene. Because this opening scene is perfect. It's just a long take of just space. Dark, quiet space, and the only thing you get is a really eerie score, and slowly, just very, very slowly, lines come up, and each line ends up spelling out Alien. It is a perfect way to start out the movie, and each scene following that feels exactly the same. Not a single scene in this movie feels light in any way. You're always at ease. You're never at ease. You always feel like there's tension throughout your body. You always feel that something bad is going to happen. And through that, they just build and build and build with the suspense. There's no jump scares in this movie, and it's not like the violence is the reason that it's scary. It's because of the way that they built it, through both the phallic symbols and just everything that was so eerie throughout the entire movie. Now, the lack of a light atmosphere may turn some people off because they won't find that entertaining. They find it stressful. But something Alien does so well, all the greatest films of all time do this, is that it creates an experience. So you no longer care about being entertained simply because you're so entwined with the story. You care so much about the characters. You know so much about what's going on. Or maybe you don't, and that's why you're so invested in what's going on. That's something Alien also does really well. It doesn't give you the answers for everything. There are still a lot of questions in this movie, and you go back and ask yourself that question, and you go back to think about the movie, and suddenly you feel like you're watching it again because of how much of an immersive experience it was the first time, that even just a thought of it brings you back to that. But something else this movie does really well is build the team dynamic, both through how the team acts with each other, but also the way that it represents the protagonist in this movie. Because the protagonist is not just Ripley. It does end up being Ripley. However, for most of the movie, you just sort of feel like it's the team trying to get through this together. That's something most films have a really hard time with, because they feel like they need to have one clear-cut protagonist. But in this movie, the team feels like a protagonist. They all feel as one. And through each and every single decision, you feel like it's one character making it, even though it's the entire team. And as the film goes on, about an hour and 30 minutes in, Ripley becomes the leader. And that is also really well built. Why? Because Ripley is the smartest person there. You always know it. She's the safest person. When they try to bring the alien on board, she asks about decontamination, and there needs to be a 24-hour process. But the rest of the crew is just completely careless. She has a lot of great ideas, however, they all just don't work, so that you always know, hey, that person is really smart and they really know what they're doing, and towards the end of the movie, when they start becoming the lead protagonist, you understand why. And this movie also represents death as not cannon fodder. That's another great part of the team aspect, is that each time someone dies, there's emotional weight to it, but also the fact that the team has lost a huge part of who they are. And it's sort of like a decrescendo onto a crescendo with Ripley, because Ripley, as she starts taking things over, that's when it becomes a crescendo. But it's a decrescendo as each and every character is picked off one by one. Now, if you didn't, that's not really a spoiler, because if you didn't expect that people were going to die in this movie, or if you haven't seen it, what are you doing? Go watch Alien right now. But basically, as each and every one of them were being picked off, you started to understand that this team was becoming weaker, that their chances were going further down and down. It wasn't just cannon fodder. They all served as an important progression in the story. And another great part about making the team the whole thing is that it's completely unpredictable. You don't really know who's going to die until about a minute or maybe just a few seconds before they die, because everything is so unpredictable. There's no protagonist, so you think, oh, they're going to survive, they aren't going to die at all. Because, at first you think that maybe the leader of the group is the protagonist. And then, spoiler alert, again, if you haven't seen Alien, go watch it right now. When he gets picked off, you're suddenly confused. You're like, oh, was he the protagonist? Okay, maybe it's this person. Oh, now he's picked off. And now it goes to Ripley. And as each and every character gets picked off, you start to realize how unpredictable the movie is. But also, at the ending, I already put a spoiler up, so I'm going to spoil the ending. Everything seems fine with Ripley. She puts the cat in, she's undressed, she's about to go into hyperspace sleep, and then suddenly the alien's there. Again, she doesn't panic, she doesn't freak out, she is smart. She gets in a spacesuit. She plans to shoot it out into outer space. This movie is just so intelligent in the way that it's crafted, but also the way that it built the team. Now that I've gone into spoilers, I would like to bring up Ash's character the second time around. Ash, the robot. When seeing it the first time around, you don't even question him. That's something he did so well, so that you don't question him. He feels like a human. Yet, watching it a second time, with each decision he makes, as he slowly says, wait, no, I think that we should keep the alien on board. Or just make certain decisions like, oh no, don't go after the alien, even though they have a prime chance to kill it. You understand why the second time, and it's even freakier. Because the movie, it's just so rewatchable. Just because of simple things like that, or the fact that the second time, it's just as scary. A story that I have with this film is that after the first time I watched it, this was the second time I watched the director's cut, the first time I watched it normal cut, after I was done with it, I heard the word alien and my blood ran cold. And that's just a great example of truly how frightening this movie is. And something that I also think gets undermined with this movie is the special effects. Because for the 70s, these were absolutely incredibles, and that's because they were actually built. They weren't just giant CGI structures that will end up just looking terrible 20 years later. The alien looks very good, the ship looks very good, and even space, even though it's not 100% realistic all the time, it all looks really good. Now, Alien, not a perfect movie. It does have a couple issues. One that I pointed out is that it kind of has a hard time finding its footing at first. And I'd say that's about the first 15 minutes. So it's almost immaterial when it comes to the rest of the movie. And also the acting has some weak moments. I think that the acting could have been improved just a couple times. Overall, the performances are really good. But however, it's just a couple times that the acting wasn't great. But besides that, Alien is practically a perfect movie. I find so many great things with this movie. I'm almost at a loss for words at how amazing it is. It's completely terrifying. It's brilliantly crafted. It's completely unconventional in every way. And those three things are what make a movie great, but especially a horror movie. And that is why I will give Alien a 9.5 out of 10. Alright, that concludes my review for Alien. Alien Covenant review should be out this Saturday or Sunday. I'll try to get it, or maybe even Monday. I'll try to get it out by then. But anyway, what are your thoughts on Alien or the entire franchise? Comment in the comment section below and let me know. I'm Robert Burke, and this has been The Clever Critics. Goodbye.